right now. Yes.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello, 1, 2, testing, how are you? Thank you, all good. Good afternoon. It's the final day of the Saudi Tour as we bring the riders to the conclusion of 5 days of very tricky racing. Let's take a look back then at what has happened in the previous 4 days. The riders fighting out for this Saudi Tour trophy. Day one was a day for the sprinters. It was Caleb Ewan who emerged out of the pack to take the first win. Day two, into the climbs. The young Colombian Santiago Buitrago emerged at the front, took his first pro win and took the leader's jersey. Day three, into AlUla, and it was Dylan Groenewegen in his first race for Bike Exchange who took the win. And then yesterday, it was the climb up to the sky views. Fagioli looked good, but then Maxime Van Gils looked even better. Let's take a look then at today's stage. The riders are going to head out of AlUla Old Town. It's a stage of 138.9 kilometers today. The riders will race back to the Old Town and they do 2 laps in the centre. 2 laps there before the race finish. Total distance today, 138.9 kilometres, rolling roads. Looks like it's a day for the sprinters. Well, thanks very much for joining us as we go out to find the riders out on the road. They started a little while earlier on. They've been racing pretty rapidly from this race start. Let's just take a look at some of the pictures of the race start earlier on today. The riders rolling into this incredibly historic little town that dates back to the 6th century BC. There's the bike of Dainese, their sprinter from DSM. The riders got onto the start line nice and early. They seem to be enjoying these sunny starts, but they're also a bit concerned about the wind. But today it's not going to be too bad at all. They should be pretty well okay. They're not going to have anything like the crosswinds they've had over the last couple of days. The riders rolled out at 12:45 in the afternoon. Ahead for them, 7.5 kilometres of neutralised section. 89 riders on the start line, and there was a lot of attacking right at the start of the race until these 4 riders emerged in the breakaway group. And there are 2 riders from UNO-X, Anton Scharmig at the front wearing number 124, his teammate in the blue jersey, Martin Urianstadt. There he is, the leader of that blue jersey competition all the way through the race. And he's just rolling through, trying to secure this blue jersey. Also in the group is the Kuwait rider, Polychronos Tsorzakis, and Yannick Steimler of the Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl team. Here's the peloton. And we're going to take a look and see if we can find Maxime Van Gils. Just heard that there's been a little bit of a mechanical for one of the Kuwait riders, James Jobber. .65 kilometres of racing to go now. The pace has been pretty relentless. The first hour of racing, average speed 48.4 kilometres. The peloton are chasing pretty hard. Lotto Soudal are on the front. The reason for that is that Anton Charmik is only 7th overall at 1 minute 29 seconds. So Lotto Soudal cannot afford to let Charmik get up the road and take this jersey. .42 kilometres an hour then for the Lotto Soudal team, and with Maxime Vageels they will try and bring this gap down to under a minute, but as you can see, Charmik really is just trying to drag this race out as much as possible. The reason he's doing a lot of work is for two reasons: for himself, but also because the blue jersey of Urianstadt has got an active sprint coming up at 52.7 kilometres to go to the finish line, and then a second one at 20.6. Here's Maxime Vageels. Little bit of a radio adjustment here at the back of the race. Just trying to get the radio working so that the communication is absolutely perfect. And it looked like he then made his way back into the peloton. Bike Exchange have decided to do a little bit more work on the front to try and bring this back to a more manageable gap as well. On the front, Polykronos Sorzakis of the Kuwait team, he is doing an awful lot of work as well. He's been on the attack quite a few days so far, hasn't he? We've seen him on the move on the majority of these stages, the same way as Urianstadt has been on the move, or he has been on the front of the peloton and doing a lot of work. There he is, a nice study of this young rider. Urianstadt from Stavanger, no wins in his career, 22 years of age, and really does hope to carry this blue jersey home at the end of today's stage. Martin, final day of the race now here in Saudi. You've been one of the standout riders of this race from our point of view. On the front so much and in the brakes. Do you have one more day in the legs for a breakaway?
Yeah, we'll see. I hope to try to be in the breakaway today as well, but we'll see how it turns out. It's less windy today, so probably I can have a go in the breakaway today as well.
Do you really dream of taking home this blue jersey at the end of today's stage?
Yeah, I really hope so. That would be a nice jersey to take home for me, so I hope so.
And what's your impressions of riding here in Saudi Arabia?
It's been really hard due to the crosswinds, so it was much harder than we expected because it's all flat and looks like easy stages, but with 2 days in the breakaway and 2 days with the heavy crosswinds, it's been really hard. Martin
Urianstadt, just his thoughts on Saudi Arabia, but also about trying to take this blue jersey home. He is starting to put in a big turn now. They've got around about 8-9 kilometres till they reach the intermediate sprint. So he's putting in a big shift on the front to try and drag this breakaway as far out as possible. Charmik is benefiting greatly at the moment. At the moment, as far as the general classification is concerned, he is 7th overall, 1 minute 29 seconds down on this general classification. And now you're seeing Lotto Soudal throwing some more troops to this, and they are putting Thomas de Gendt on the front. Now, de Gendt, of course, is one of the powerhouses of the peloton. And if you put Thomas de Gendt on the front this early, and you know that they need to do something about this. This green jersey is under a little bit of pressure right now. He doesn't seem to be under too much pressure. He's a very relaxed, very calm rider on chatting to him before the race starts. He was very, very pleased to win yesterday's stage. So Anton Charmy, at this moment in time, is starting to move himself, not just in danger of taking over this green jersey, but also making his way onto the podium of this year's race. As things stand, Maxim van Kiels of the Lotto Soudal team leads. Buitrago is second at 36 seconds. Rui Costa in third at 48. Then it's Tim de Klerk with that magnificent ride of yesterday. And then it's Danny Van Poppel and Daniel Oss at 57 seconds. This is the rundown of the Terengganu Polygon cycling team. Just to give you an idea of this squad. They've ridden a superb race so far. They've been in as many moves as they could do. They've got Matt Amin, they've got Jeroen Myers, they've got Mohamed Maud Sharif, they've got Afik Otman, and they've got Maud Salah. The team comes from Malaysia. Their Polygon is their bike sponsor, so they're all riding on Polygon bikes that you may never have heard of before. And Terengganu, Ganu is a district, a region of Malaysia. And Teran is the region, so it's Terengganu, and the region is sponsoring this team to try and promote the particular region, a little bit like AlUla is on the shoulders of the Bike Exchange team as a World Tour level team, but Terengganu able to sponsor an entire squad. And they are a team that get a lot of invites. They ride in the Asia Tour, but they've been given the opportunity here to race in this Saudi Tour over these days of racing, and they are thoroughly enjoying themselves. They've lost, they've got their full team of riders. They only started with 5 riders, so they could have had 7 in the race, but they chose to arrive here with 5. And they've been a cohesive force. We've seen Jerome Myers on the attack during the race, and we also saw Afik Otman on the attack too. And early on in the day, on day number 1, it was Sharul Mat Amin who was on the attack as well. Seven kilometres until we reach this intermediate sprint, where Urianstad will be looking to secure the points ahead of Polychronos Tsorzakis. These two riders locked in that combat over the last few days. Peloton then currently trying to catch the leaders. They're 1.1 kilometres behind. The gap isn't dramatically diminishing, so the pressure will have to be kept on to try and bring this race back. Bike Exchange now contributing to the pace. I was talking to Luca Metgetz before the start today, just to ask him about yesterday's stage, as we get a glimpse here of Tim de Klerk. De Klerk, what a wonderful race this fantastic rider is having. De Klerk at the moment 4th overall at 52 seconds. And he really enjoyed yesterday's stage. We caught up with him before the stage start.
Tim, good morning. Yesterday was a little bit different. We're normally used to seeing you on the flats, riding so well, looking after the team. Yesterday you were unleashed on the climbs. How was it?
Yeah, it was quite a nice experience. This doesn't happen too often for me, that I can ride the final of a race, and for sure not when it's uphill like that. But I think the way of the race suited me quite well, because it was already hard before on the flat with the echelons we made. And then I know I'm really not an explosive type of rider, but the longer things I can do okay. Okay, for sure there wasn't much too steep for me, but I think my shape is okay, and or good even. And it was just a shame Baggio couldn't finish it off, but the guy of Lotto was really strong. and then I could save a little bit in the group behind over the climb, and then at the end I still gave it a go.
Tim de Klerk, we caught up with him before the race start today. Don't know about you, but it's wonderful to get an opportunity to actually hear from Tim de Klerk and find out his thoughts on going for a victory on that final climb. So often we just are enthralled by Tim de Klerk sitting on the front of the peloton for kilometre after kilometre, particularly in races like the Tour de France, where we just enjoy and are a bit in awe of the amount of power this rider has. They call him the tractor, and he is certainly one of the diesel engines of the peloton. This is ahead of the race. Just to remind you then, 4 riders on the attack, 1:17, and this peloton is having to work hard because this gap is not dropping right now, despite the amount of firepower and big names that are being thrown now at this breakaway to try and keep it under control. They certainly don't want to let this breakaway get up to sort of 2 minutes, because otherwise the jersey of Maxime Van Giels is in difficulty then. Tim de Klerk, I asked him whether he might go for the sprint and whether he thought he could take a place on the podium, and he said no, not possible. He said, I'm so slow in a sprint that even Rui Costa will beat me in a sprint when we go into the finish in AlUla. He's there to power along, keep the pace as high as possible. He's not there to sprint for the finish line. So that's firmly not even in his mind. They are looking to try and bring a stage win for Ballerini. Another rider looking for the stage win is this man, Dylan Groenewegen. You can see that the pressure is on. These riders are in one long line at the moment, and they are having to do a huge amount of work just to hold this lead at this current situation. And the UNO-X team are putting the World Squad teams under pressure. 56 kilometres to go. Dylan Groenewegen, let's hear from him now on his thoughts about today's stage.
Dylan, good morning. How have you recovered from quite a hilly finish yesterday?
Yeah, for me it was okay. Also with the wind was hard, but yeah, I did the climb yeah, really easy. Yeah, for today. Today is a new chance to make it a bunch sprint. Yeah, we are really motivated, and yeah, it's a big chance to go for a sprint. So yeah, we will have to see.
Now you've won here already. Do you change anything from the other day, or is it exactly the same plan?
Maybe, I don't say it. No, it's actually yeah, a little bit the same, of course. Everything go really well. But yeah, some small things are changed. I make also some faults in the last 200 meters, so I have to do that better, and yeah, hope for the same result.
Dylan Groenewegen never totally happy with his sprint despite winning the stage, so he's going to tweak a few little things, not make any mistakes, and try and win a second stage into AlUla. But there are other riders who definitely don't want that to happen. In particular, Caleb Ewan will be looking to try and win this stage, and there are other sprinters, of course, in here that we have not really seen or heard of yet. We take a look at the sky views of Harrit Awyrid, which hosted such a wonderful finish yesterday. We were up there on the top, weren't we, with the podium, which was pretty spectacular. There is a 10-second time bonus on the finish line today. That might help a sprinter like Danny Van Poppel, who is now 5th overall. He could move himself up with a 10-second time bonus if he won the stage into 3rd place on the general classification. So without doubt, this race is not completely decided. You would, in normal circumstances, expect that Maxime Van Giels would be the winner of this stage, winner of this race overall. But the breakaway group is certainly not accepting that in any shape or form. And soon, I think Lotto Soudal and Bike Exchange are going to hope that one of the other teams decides to come to the front and help them out. Because otherwise, we're going to see this breakaway group start to go further and further ahead. Slight climb then, 54.4 kilometres to go. The active sprint comes up at 52.7. Here's our white jersey, best young rider, Santiago Buitrago, the 22-year-old Colombian. And this is Maxime Van Keel's former cyclocross rider, actually. Not as famous as the likes of Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel and Tom Pidcock, but he rode cyclocross as a young rider. He rode some of the World Cups, like the Zolder World Cup cyclocross as well. So he's got that background of that fast twitch ability to hurt yourself over around about an hour. And clearly, he's now starting to find his feet in World Tour racing. Caleb Ewan just taken on a little bit of food. The gap goes out again, 1 minute 44. Now, it may be, as we go through the feed zone, that the other sprinters teams are thinking, right, we're just going to gamble today. We're going to get Bike Exchange to do all the work. That means then that we're not under any pressure at all. We'll let them hold the gap as small as they possibly can. And then in the last 20 kilometres or so, we will do any chasing that is required. It's a little bit of a wild card to do that, but that's clearly what they've decided to do. Bora Hansgrohe have also decided that they want to contribute. They've got Martin Lass and they've got Jordi Meeus as their two sprinters for today's race. So far we've seen Martin Lass as the key sprinter, so we'll see whether he goes for it again today. On the sprint stages so far, the top 6 on day 1 was Caleb Ewan, Martin Lass of Bora Hansgrohe, Fernando Gaviria of UAE, Jasper de Burst, he led out Caleb Ewan. Then we had Bonifacio and Gross, that was the top 6. On the second sprint stage, Groenewegen, McClay, Caleb Ewan, Danny Van Poppel, Dainese and Gaviria. So Gaviria is featured in the top 6 twice. Groenewegen only once, but he won a stage. McClay once, but he was second. Caleb Ewan with 2 top 3s in the sprints, despite going so late on day number 3. Dainese has featured once. Van Poppel has featured once. So has Bonifacio and Gross. Coming up then to the active sprint, and it's all about the sprint between Polykronos Tsorzakis and Ur Anstad. Who's going to take this one? 500 meters to go to this intermediate sprint. They're getting ready. Ur Anstad has got 18 points. There are 3 points on offer here. If he gets this, then he's a little bit untouchable. If Tsorzakis gets it, the fight is on. Where's the sprint? They're coming up towards it now. Tsorzakis is starting to get a little bit more fidgety. Ur Anstad just matching him. It's quite a hard power climb, this one, before they take the right-hander at the top. Ur Anstad looks across. Tsorzakis is going to try and go. But actually, Ur Anstad has kind of let Tsorzakis take this. So he goes through. He takes 3 points. That means he's on 15. But Ur Anstad takes 2, so he's on 20. Looks like it's going to be a bit academic. Ur Anstad and Tsorzakis have had a little bit of a tussle for 5 days. Ur Anstad congratulates Tsorzakis, so it's 3 points to him. Ur Anstad with 2, Yannick Steimler with 1 point. But they've enjoyed a good tussle. 5 points separating them, 6 points on offer now. Race situation then after the active sprint, Martin Urianstadt with 20 points, Polykronos Sorzakis with 15 points. Jay Julius has just been dropped as we make our way up this climb. The crosswind coming from the right-hand side. There's a few tired legs in this peloton now with 51.1 kilometers to go. Now, does the peloton... Oops, a few riders taken to some cyclocross. Bit of sand at the side there on the desert road, and the riders just lost it a little. What's good about these roads, though, is that if you do offshoot the tarmac, you're pretty much on sand, and it's not, in most cases, too thick. So you don't just jump your wheel into the sand and go over the top. You're able to just ride and get yourself back on the road. Frequently, when you're driving around this region, you see the police cars, big jeeps. They come rolling along the road and just drive straight into the desert, turn around and park. So it's not thin sand in most occasions. I guess you have to be a little bit careful or you just disappear. Here's our race leader, Maxime Van Giels. He's under a little bit of pressure right now. He doesn't seem to be. 140 is the advantage for the leading group, containing Anton Sharmik in 7th place overall. We caught up with Maxime before the race starts.
We spoke yesterday morning, and you said the plan was get the team to look after you in the crosswinds, and then it all came together for you. What's your reflection on yesterday? How are you feeling this morning after your first pro win?
Yeah, I feel good today. We have 2 jobs today. Try to get the jersey home, and probably we will win the stage.
What was your feeling at the top of that climb when you realised that you were going to pull that first win that every pro wants? You were going to pull it off? Yeah,
it was really a special feeling. Also, you come on the top of the climb, and then it was 8K flat, a little bit tailwind, so you need to push really hard in the end, and that makes a really special victory.
So what's the plan for the team today to bring this jersey home?
Yeah, I think we need to protect me so good as possible. And then in the final, we will try with Caleb.
There's the plan then for Lotto Soudal. Martin Urianstadt is in the blue jersey at the front of our leading group. Behind him is Polykronos Sorzakis, riding for the Quick Step team, Yannick Steimler. And on the back in the yellow and red is Anton Sharmik. He is the rider, Anton Sharmik, who is putting Maxime Van Giels and the Lotto Soudal team under a little bit of a trial right now. Thomas de Gent continues with the pacemaking. Long uphill stretches here, as you can see. I was talking to Luca Metgetz. I was just going to update you on that maybe about 20 minutes ago. But he was saying earlier on that this has been a very, very tough bike race because you are on the pedals the entire time. Oops, drop of a bottle by Urianstadt. Now we'll see if he can get the bottle here from his soigneur. Let's hope he does. Does that nicely. Maybe a little bit of tiredness creeping in. So Luca Metgetz saying, as we just get a replay here of him taking the bottle, took it a little bit late. So coming back to Luca Metgetz, just saying that he didn't realise that Saudi Tour would be this hard. Each day has been in the crosswinds. It's much more rolling and hard, the terrain, than he anticipated. And he said it's very, very difficult. So there's a few tired legs in this peloton as we make our way past Elephant Rock. Lies 11 kilometres northeast of the province at a height of 52 metres. It's a natural rock formation. It hasn't been crafted in any way. It looks like an elephant with a ground-bound trunk, surrounded by hundreds of other rock monoliths. It's hoped that in time for Saudi Arabia, this will become one of the most photographed areas of Saudi Arabia for tourists in this region of AlUla. Thanks for joining us. If you've just joined us now, 4 riders on the attack. Yannick Steimler of the Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl team, Sharmig and Urianstat of the Team of Uno X, and Polykronos Tsorzakis of the Kuwait Pro Cycling team on the attack. 1:30 now is their lead. So it's thought this Saudi Tour will encourage more and more big names to come to it over time when they realise that the sort of workout you get in the early weeks of the season will really help you for the classics. And it will be very interesting to see as we see Elliot Leterre. It's like maybe a puncture for him. He'll make his way back into the convoy, get the wheel change, and then work his way back into the peloton. So it's hoped that some of the bigger names in the world of cycling will see how good this race is, and they will hear from their teammates, and then over time they will come to the race and the field will just increase in the quality over time. Not that we haven't had a great quality field, we've had some wonderful racing, and in particular the sprinters have been well represented, but perhaps the missing link is the general classification style riders. Most of those riders tend to go to Oman or go to the UAE or both. So it's hoped that in time the riders will decide to come to the Saudi Tour and they will be able to just see how hard the racing is here. 45.5 kilometres to go, still 1:28. This gap is not dropping. 66 kilometres an hour. They've just gone through the feed zone and they're heading down to Al Matlath Ra. That comes up at 38.1 kilometres of racing to go. When we get into the race finish today, we're going to do 2 laps. He'll give everyone in this region a little bit of an opportunity to see the peloton rather than just whistling by on one occasion. They will be able to just enjoy watching the race happen. So the first circuit finish that we've had on this race this year. Thanks very much for joining me then. If you'd like to get in touch, at Ant McCrossan on social media. .125, the average speed now around about 44 kilometres an hour. Here's Dan McClay. He finished second into AlUla the other day, just behind Dylan Groenewegen. So he's the designated sprinter for the Arkea Samsic team. He's a British sprinter. He doesn't always get allowed to sprint for himself because he's normally a lead-out man for Nasser Bouhanni. but he's hoping to win today. We caught up with him this morning before the race starts.
Dan, good morning. Final stage of the Saudi Tour today. Could be a bunch sprint, and you got second on a stage already. Has the team changed anything for today's run into the finish, or are you going to go with what you did the other day?
Yeah, we'll keep it pretty similar. We'll just try and stay together a bit better. We got a little bit lost coming into the town last time, but yeah, I mean, I think it will be a little bit, probably an easier stage than last time, but yeah, similar, same finish. So yeah, we'll just give it another go. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other guys will have the same idea, but yeah, we'll give it a crack.
So early in the season, how pleased are you with your form?
Yeah, it's always hard to tell, you know, in the sprints. Like, I think overall the form's pretty good, and like I'm always going to be able to sprint good, whether the form's kind of there or not. But yeah, I think the form's there, but we'll find out when we get to some more lumpy races. Yeah.
Dan McClay enjoying the time here in Saudi Arabia and enjoying having the opportunity to sprint. We've seen him in his career mostly as a lead-out man, but when he's had the opportunity to sprint, he's an extremely fast sprinter. There could be a bit of an upset against Caleb Ewan and Dylan Groenewegen today. Let's see how this sprint unfolds. One long straight line as the workers still try to pull this breakaway back. Sharmig is still causing some consternation. At the moment, Lotto Soudal will be a little bit happier because he is now no longer the virtual green jersey of this Saudi Tour. So things are a little bit more under control. Musette's being handed back in here at the back of the peloton. There's no allowance to throw these anymore. They must be handed in the waste zones or to the soigneurs or taken back to the team cars. When the race is on like this, it can be a little tricky. The race direction car does now get used on many occasions for that sort of circumstance. Van Gils is happy just to sit behind his troops. He's got a wonderful team, hasn't he, around him. Jasper de Burst, Caleb Ewan, Thomas de Gent, Jared Drisners, Roger Kluger. They lost Rudiger Selig in a crash. The team have decided that what they will do is they will bring Van Gils safely to the finish circuit, get him to 3 kilometers to go, and then they will put everything in place to try and help Caleb Ewan win the stage. So there'll be a few riders designated at this moment in time to be with Van Gils. And then all the attention will turn to the red jersey and try and give Caleb Ewan that red jersey and also the stage win. Caleb was joking this morning that they were going to put a rider in the breakaway as well and try and take the blue jersey. So they had all the jerseys and no other team had an opportunity of winning anything. But it's not going to happen. Urianstad, to me, looks like he is pretty safe in that blue jersey. We'll find out in the next sprint, which comes up in 20 kilometers or 20.2 kilometers time exactly. Over the speed ramps, which categorize this particular area. Nice aerial shot of Winter Park, where we have started and finished some stages here. It's a very nice park just to wander around, and there's various street food trucks and coffee places in that Winter Park itself. Urianstad goes back to the workload. Radio popped back into his ear. Polychronos Tsorzakis rides through. A rider who is 33 years of age in that white jersey. 5 times a national time trial champion, twice a national road race champion. He's won a few races in his career. The winner of the Tour of Egypt. He also won the points jersey in the Tour of Guadeloupe. Henrik Steimler on the back for the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team. Twice a stage winner in the Tour of Austria, pro since 2020, and the winner of the Tour of Slovakia in his career so far. A real powerhouse in that Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team. As we look a little bit further back, the squads are starting to form up now, aren't they, in different colours. You can see them there, whereas before it was a scramble of colour. Now it's much more of a formation. So you have the team at the front, the workers of different squad. Oh, Sharmik. Don't know what happened there. Just getting a little bit of help from Steimler. They want all the firepower they can get in that group. Don't know what actually happened. I'm not sure whether he hit one of the rocks. Sometimes there are some rocks that come out on the road from the desert. Sometimes there's some little speed bumps. Sometimes little cat's eyes. Or did he just touch the wheel? I don't think he touched the wheel. It looked like he hit something. Steimler very quickly reacted. Just shows the way cycling works. It's all about etiquette, but it's also about trying to use the resources that you have round about you to try and stay away from a fast-moving peloton. So Steimler will look then and think, well, it'd be easy to just smile and say, oh, I've lost a rider out of the breakaway and let Sharmik get dropped. But he won't do that because he's a professional rider. He'll think, okay, what I still need this rider's legs. 4 riders are better than 3 riders at this moment in the race. So I'll help him. I'll make sure he gets back in the string. And then we can continue with the same sort of tempo that we've had. It's all thinking about the saving of energy and watts and being able to produce your power over a sustained period of time. 107 then, as we look back at the peloton. We're not too far away then from the finish circuit. We've got 2 circuits that the riders face. We enter the final circuit in 16 kilometers. And the circuit itself, when we reach the line, is 10.3 kilometers. The wind not causing too many problems today for the riders. It has diminished right down. Whereas before it was blowing up to around 50 kilometers an hour. Today it's nothing to speak of. It's around about 10 kilometers. So it's not causing these riders any issues whatsoever. As we head down towards this historic town, founded in the 6th century BC, it's a city in northwest Saudi Arabia. It's located on the historic incense route. Used to be the trading place of spices, silk and other luxury items on that route across Arabia, Egypt and India. If you're looking to see exactly where it is, as we just have a look here at the camels, just taking a little glance across at what's going on. In terms of geography, we're 300 kilometers north of Medina, and this area was set up by the Leonites and the Dedanites. It's kind of the same tribe. A UNESCO World Heritage Site just outside called Hegra. And we're going to race down and go past the university that we started at a few days ago, Tabai University, before we set ourselves up for the race finish in this historic old town. On the front of the group now, Bora Hansgrohe have put Matteo Fabro on the front. Fabro is nursing a few injuries at the moment. He's certainly got a huge amount of skin off on his left arm. He was getting that dressed yesterday morning when I went to see him. "58 seconds. Suddenly this gap starts to drop. Steimler's kicking on pretty hard, isn't he? Massive gear on the bike. Behind him, just going through in the blue, Urianstad, the 22-year-old rider from Stavanger. Then Anton Sharmik, who is leaving everything out on the road today to try and move himself up in the general classification. These riders will have done their squad proud. UNOX, which has just launched its women's program as well. They've got a World Tour team that has signed a number of really strong riders, including the likes of Hannah Barnes, also Suzanne Anderson, who finished 7th in the World Championships in the road race. And they're going to take part in their first ever race in a couple of days' time for the start of the women's road season. There is Dylan Groenewegen. Four stage wins in the Tour de France. Winner of Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. One stage in Paris-Nice, De Panne as well. He's looking to bring home his second win of the season today. It's 1-1 between him and Caleb Ewan. Who's going to go 2-1 at the end of today's stage, or is it going to be somebody else? Well, thanks very much to all of you for joining me. A few quick hellos. Thank you to the Couch Peloton for joining me throughout the week. Thanks to Luis Onchiclismo for being in touch as well. To a few of others who have messaged me during the race. Thank you to Matt Cox, to Court, and a few others who have been in touch during the race. To Dejan as well. It's been a pleasure bringing you this Saudi Tour. It's an emerging nation. This race is invested in for a number of different years. And the hope then is that this race will grow in stature, and more of the big teams and the star riders will come here to start their season, then move on to Oman, then to the UAE Tour, and then head back for the opening weekend or the early season classics. 54 seconds. Despite the work being done, it's still not dropping like a stone, is it? 32 kilometers, 53 seconds. So in 26 kilometers, this gap has only dropped 25 seconds. Roger Kluger's birthday today. There he is, rolling along in the peloton. A few other birthdays around the Saudi Tour today, including the press officer of Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl, so it's Phil Lowe's birthday too. He always helps us out with all the race interviews before the race starts and at the race finish with the Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl team. still one fast line, and this peloton is way ahead of schedule so far. Just taking a look, they are, I think, going to be coming in way ahead of what was forecast. Still, the work being done on the front by Jan Maas, the rider in the blue and white of the Bike Exchange squad. He's the rider that was on the front when Dylan Groenewegen won the stage the other day. So the plan normally is put Jan Maas up there, help him drive things on. As the Bora Hansgrohe rider Matteo Fabro goes through now. Here is Caleb Ewan in that red jersey. Drisner's still got a few bandages. Nose very scratched as well after his crash. The Australian rider wearing number 34. Just in front of the green jersey is Jasper de Bust. Now, as you can see, we've got the working riders at the front. Then you've got Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. And then you have got the Lotto Soudal team sitting behind. Polychronos Sorzakis has decided to say goodbye to the front group. Very well done, Polychronos. This rider for the Kuwait cycling team has done his team proud over the last week of racing. He's been on the attack on pretty much every day. He has animated the race. The blue jersey is going to end up on the shoulders of Martin Urianstadt of the Uno X team. All his work has now been awarded with that blue jersey as long as he finishes the stage. There's the view of the peloton just working their way across to try and catch this front group. Let's take a look then at where we are. There's the head of the race. Peloton just behind. We're going to work our way down past the souk, the market, in towards AlUla, and then do our 2 loops. A few other birthdays in the world of cycling today as well. Barry Hoban's birthday, as Sorzakis is about to be caught by the peloton. Barry Hoban's 82 today. Roger Kluger's birthday. Marco Irizar, also his birthday too. At what point do some other riders hit the front and decide to bring this race back together? Because at some point they're going to need a little bit more help. The rider doing the majority of the work on the front is Jan Maas. He's a 25-year-old Dutch rider. Comes from Bergen-op-Zoom. Hasn't had any wins in his career so far because he's just moved to the World Tour from Leopard Pro Cycling. He came through the SEG Racing Academy, which is a very well-known racing academy that has produced some fantastic riders. 2018, he had a stagiaire ride with Lotto Jumbo at the time, now Jumbo Visma. And then in 2019, instead of going to the World Tour, he decided to go into the Leopard Pro Cycling team. He's been there for 3 seasons before Bike Exchange at Jayco signed him up. Let's think then, if this breakaway does come back, who the sprinters might be for today's race. Well, of course, we've got the riders who've won already. Caleb Ewan, Dylan Groenewegen. But Fernando Gaviria has been there and thereabouts, riding for the UAE. Bonifacio also riding for Total Energy. Ballerini of the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team. Lassen Mayus of Bora Hansgrohe. Jakob Moretsko of Alpecin Fenix hasn't really featured in the sprints yet, so we need to see whether he can do something. Doesn't look like they've got their train really dialed. Dainese of DSM. If Dainese doesn't feel good, they'll go with Welsford, who was on the attack yesterday. Dan McClay of Arkea. Bleekra of the Uno X team, who was third behind Jakob Moretsko in the Tour of Hungary on a stage in 2020. That's the key sprinters who we think will feature in this finish, if indeed this breakaway does get caught, because right now they are refusing to give in. Steimler taking the pressure off the Quick Step team, works his way through to the front. This is Hegra, the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's known as Al Hajir also. It's an archaeological site located in the Medina province. The majority of the remains here date back to the Nabatean kingdom, to the 1st century AD. And this was the kingdom's southernmost settlement and the second largest city after Petra in Jordan. This is the tomb of Lian, son of Cuza. It's been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2008. And as we've seen during the race, the big focus is if you bring more tourists to this region, which has been closed for its whole time pretty much, how do you preserve these monuments? How do you make sure that these incredible historic monuments stay safe? So the real focus of the archaeologists and the scientists is to make that happen.
Okay.
25 kilometres of racing to go. We're now 5 kilometres from the second of our active sprints. Sharmik is one of those young riders who refuses to accept the pattern of bike racing in the World Tour, and he's trying to dish it out to everybody else. Another one of those youngsters who's animated, who doesn't follow a pattern, who likes to go out and say, I'm trying to win the bike race. There's going to be no control, no nothing. I'm going to go out, I'm going to attack. It's pretty spirited and it's fantastic to see. To me, it looks like the Uno X team are just having a bit of fun today. Kurt Arvidsson was always an attacking rider in his career, and it looks like Kurt is instilling that in his young riders in this Uno X squad. And I'm sure he's absolutely loving watching them ride this way. Very, very warm now this afternoon. Steimler just giving the legs a little bit of a shake, making sure he keeps a little bit of life in them. That was a big speed ramp. Heading in then to AlUla Newtown. So Zarkis now is dropped by the peloton, so he's gone all the way through. Thomas de Gent puts on a little bit more hurt. Kurt Arvesen, I was just thinking back to the Tour de France of 2008 when he won that stage into Foix in a 3-rider breakaway. It had been originally, he'd been with Elmiger and Balan on that run, and he beat them in the sprint. An attacking rider indeed. It's a day of many riders on the attack, but Arvesen was always a rider who liked to go away. Problem here for birthday boy Roger Kluge. And he's going to be needed by Caleb Ewan. This is a problem for Lotto Soudal. So Lotto Soudal pull off the chase here. They're not going to go through until Kluge gets back. In fact, Drisners does go through. Jared Drisners onto the front, 46 seconds. Let's see if it stabilizes a little. In the last 10 kilometers, the gap has dropped by 8 seconds and 8 seconds only. Kluge's back up and running. That lovely style that he's got, honed from sitting at high speed on the track. As a World Madison champion, he's so rock solid. Just sitting behind the car then, he's allowed to get into the convoy and get himself back into the right position. Caleb Ewan desperately needs him to get back. Ewan has lost Rudiger Selig. Kluge is the man to pilot them into position before the run-in to the conclusion of this race. De Gent's done a huge amount of work, so De Gent's legs won't be good for a lead out. That would only leave De Burst and Drisners, because Van Gils is going to look after himself on this finish circuit and make sure that he brings home the green jersey as the winner of the Saudi Tour for Lotto Soudal. 44 seconds, we enter the finish circuit now. We get ready for the active sprint, which will crown Uri Anstad as the winner of the blue jersey. 500 meters to go for the final sprint along the route for this blue jersey. There's one final bonus sprint which counts, but this one is going to put Uri Anstad as the winner of this blue jersey after 5 tough days of racing. 21 kilometers to go. We cross the line in a moment, and Martin Uri Anstad from Stavanger in the blue jersey. Congratulations to him. He's the winner of the most active rider of the Saudi Tour. He must be absolutely exhausted, but it's so well deserved the way this rider has ridden all week. Uri Anstad wins the blue jersey. The peloton now working their way uphill. Fabro on the front for the Bora Hansgrohe team. This is the line for the first time. 2 laps to go. Peloton pretty merged through that little section. Roger Kluge, I've just seen going through just on the last couple of cars before the peloton. So Roger Kluge looks like he's going to get back in. He'll need to surf his way through, find Caleb Ewan and get himself in position ready for this lead out. Two riders now at the front, 38 seconds. We started with 4. Thanks for joining us. Let's recap on what's happened on the race so far. 4 riders were on the attack. Steimler here in the blue and white. Sharmik there in the yellow and red. They were also with Uri Anstad and Sorzakis, our 2 main animators of all the stages so far, pretty much. They were on the attack. They built their advantage. The peloton has never really let them have more than 2 minutes because of this rider, Sharmik, who is 7th overall and looking for a place on the podium tonight. The chase has been led by many teams: Bora Hansgrohe, Quick Step, Lotto Soudal and Bike Exchange. With 19 kilometers to go, we have one intermediate sprint left in just under 10 kilometers time, and then we have the run into the finish. Urianstad looks around. He could just ride his way to the finish. Confirmation of Sprint 2. Martin Urianstad, Uno X, takes 3 points. Steimler takes 2. Sharmik takes 1. First hour of racing today, 48.4 kilometers an hour. Big attack now. Yannick Steimler leaves Sharmik and goes on the move to try and win the stage. Sharmik blows. Game over for the Uno X rider. His chances of taking the podium finish now disappear. Steimler goes it alone. Tim de Klerk said to me earlier on today, we don't come to any race to settle for 4th place on the general classification. We come to races to win bike races. He said they would try and win today's stage. They were disappointed that Baggioli just couldn't finish things off yesterday, but Van Giels was extremely strong. They just couldn't do anything about it. De Klerk lies 4th overall, but because of the style of the way that this team race, what they're only interested in is going home with a stage victory. They don't want necessarily that 4th place overall. They will do everything they can to win this stage. Quick Step now sit up. They are blocking the front of the peloton. As soon as Fabro decides to swing off, the entire Quick Step team will be there and they will let this gap go out. Clever tactics by the Quick Step squad. Blazing sunshine now on the finish line. A nice crowd forming to bring these riders home. Steimler's now in time trial mode. Big effort going in by this rider. Look at that, the mouth is wide open, trying to keep the head as low as possible, trying to keep it down as low as he can get towards that handlebar stem, keeping the frontal area as aero as possible too. Oh, that was a little bit of a correction through that left-hander. Steimler puts it way back up to top speed. This is Sharmik about to be caught. His teammate Urianstad's just gone out the back of the peloton. 43 seconds. Will we see a solo winner of today's stage? Steimler's won 6 races in his career. The last one was in 2021 on the 17th of September. He won stage 2 of the Tour of Slovakia. This is Moriah. We saw this yesterday. It's the incredible structure, the largest mirrored building in the world, with 9,740 mirrored panels reflecting AlUla. It's in the Guinness World Records, set in the desert canyon of the Ashar Valley. .9 kilometers to go. He will go through the line again at 10.3 kilometers from the finish. In a massive gear, keeping the pressure on as much as possible. Spinning a big gear as though it's a tiny gear. This is this turnaround for the peloton. This is the turn at the far end of the circuit. Really hard on the rider's legs now at this time in a stage race. Before we started today, we had already covered 692.4 kilometers. The average speed, even in those crosswinds and with days in that furious headwind, the average speed had been 40.3 kilometers an hour. Today's going to ramp that up a little bit. The average speed is pretty relentless today. Who do you think is going to win today's stage? Give us your predictions at Ant McCrossan on social media. Thanks very much to Questionable Intent. The prediction is Caleb Ewan, but from Australia, so it might be a little bit biased, you say, but why not? Bike Exchange now come to the front. Jan Maas looking good still. Decides to contribute yet again. Jared Cook, hello to you. What's the temperature? It's around about 24 degrees, 25 degrees now, but the sun is pretty intense. There's a few spectators at the finish. The population of this region is not too high at all. And they're just getting used to bike racing. They've never really seen it. So this is the first time many people have seen a spectacle like this. The cycling scene is growing in Saudi Arabia, though. Talking to Omar, who is the Arab commentator, not too far away from me right now. He says that a few years ago there was just him and 2 or 3 other riders who used to ride, and now there are many clubs, many riders taking to bike racing, and lots of organised races. The Ministry of Sport putting a lot of prize money as well into cycling. He says you go to the bike shops now, there are no bikes. Everything is sold out. Everybody wants to get their hands on one. It is a growing community. 28 seconds. Jan Maas, well done to him. He's done his job. He's now dropped from the peloton. He'll ride his way in. He has been a real standard in that Bike Exchange team this week. He has done everything he can to ensure a victory for Dylan Groenewegen in the sprints. The squad made up this time for Bike Exchange: Lawson Craddock, Alex Edmondson, Michael Hepburn, Alexander Konishev and Luka Metgetz. All backing up the sprinter. "23 seconds for our solo leader. Steimler trying to hold on, but look at the pace now in this group. He's giving it everything he can. Look at the shoulder rock on him now. This is also, though, taking the pressure off David Ballerini, the sprinter of the Quick Step team. Bike Exchange, little flick of the elbow by Lawson Craddock. We're getting used to seeing him now in the blue and white of Bike Exchange rather than the pink of EF. Now the Cofidis team decide to exert a little bit of influence. Coming through towards the front, Lotto Soudal. They're contributing with Jared Drisner, the Australian, on the front of the peloton. Caleb Ewan just sitting in there, piloting his way towards another big race finish. This is another big turn round this roundabout. not far now from the riders going across the line. So the sprinters have had a couple of opportunities before the finish to see today's finish line, to check that it hasn't moved from the other day, to check the wind direction and everything else. The other day it was a howling tailwind up this finish straight. It was perfect for Groenewegen. Slightly uphill, slight tailwind, full on. He won the sprint. Today's going to be a bit different. There is no wind to speak of. Big wide road, as you can see. Then they bare left off it, straight up the hill. Long drag, power climb. Don't want to go too early, but like Caleb Ewan found out the other day, you don't want to leave your jump too late. 300 meters to go till we get the bell. Steimler only 11 seconds ahead. It looks like this peloton has timed this to perfection. And this is the bonus sprint as Steimler's about to be caught. They go through. It looks like it was bonus seconds on the line for the Bora Hansgrohe rider. So just on the line. 1 lap to go. Bora Hansgrohe taking that bonus sprint. I'm wondering if the Bora Hansgrohe riders went a little bit too early. Now the attacks start to happen at the front, and a big attack on the right-hand side. Tim de Klerk launches down the right-hand side to try and go clear. De Klerk makes a big move. In fact, I think if that was Danny van Poppel who took that sprint for Bora Hansgrohe, then he will have captured 3 bonus seconds and moved himself slightly up. So they didn't think it was too early. They launched Danny van Poppel, and I'm just waiting to see what the result is going to be. That will have moved him closer to Tim de Klerk, who is now trying to split this peloton to pieces. De Klerk is caught. 5 or 6 riders come across to him. Well, de Klerk said to me earlier today, I don't think I'm going to finish on the podium. He's 4th. He's only 4 seconds off Rui Costa. But he felt he wouldn't even beat Rui Costa in the sprint. The pace now starts to diminish. Bahrain victorious. Get ready. Jascha Sütterlin up towards the front. Tucked in on the wheels. Cofidis will probably go with Simone Consoni for this sprint. They have got Chimolai as well. Bahrain victorious, starting to settle things down now. So it really looks like it's going to be a bunch sprint unless someone manages to jump away and take this victory. 8.5 kilometers to go. Suddenly there is a bit of a calming in this group. We haven't seen Lotto Soudal come to the front with Caleb Ewan yet. They generally leave it a little bit late. They do the early work with Thomas de Gent. As we see Jared Drisner's dropping off the back now. Just feeling that ankle. Hope he hasn't done any more damage than he already had done in the crash. So we get ourselves set. So let's have confirmation then of the sprint. Danny van Poppel did score 3 bonus seconds, so he's moved up to 54 seconds off the lead, 2 seconds behind Tim de Klerk. And Bahrain Victorious now settle in with Butrago on their wheel. Behind him is the UAE, one of the UAE riders. Just behind, a couple of places back, not far to behind Butrago is Maxime Van Gils. He has 4.3 kilometers until he's safe. There's another big attack launch down the left-hand side of the road. But I can't see whether that is just a move to come to the front or not. A little bit of shadow on the camera as we look. Sunshine just making everything look a little bit dark. And riders making their way towards the front. Bike Exchange looking to take control now. As Groenewegen said, we've changed a few things, but not too much. But I'm not going to give you the entire plan. Left-hand turn now as they come out of that turn. Still Bahrain Victorious with control of this peloton. Right on the back of the group. Number 33 there, Thomas de Gent. His work is done. Just in front of him, Lawson Craddock, who also did some work for Bike Exchange earlier on. It's a wide road, this. It's hard to control with so few riders. Bahrain Victorious really starting to ramp up the pace. Six kilometers of racing to go. This is complete turn back on yourself now. Now they get themselves set for this long run into the race finish. Still Bahrain Victorious with full control of the front of this peloton. The team looking pretty strong. Yannick Steimler still in there. He's worked his way back to look after the interests of David Ballerini. Caleb Ewan moving up. You can see the green jersey of Maxime Van Gils. He's safely there. He's got 2.5 kilometers until he's the winner of the Saudi Tour. Cofidis move up. As you can see, the white jersey with the red on it, the white helmets, the red strip down it. They're moving up with Simone Consoni. Here come the Alpecin Fenix team on the left-hand side with Jakob Moretsko. They slot into position. Butrago safely there. Butrago, as far as the classification is concerned, 36 seconds down. Rui Costa at 48 for the UAE Team Emirates. There's still a little bit of a washing machine effect going on at the front of this peloton. Bora Hansgrohe move forward. They've got so many options of sprinters with Danny Van Poppel, Jordi Meus, Martin Lass. Who do they go with? 10 seconds bonus on offer at the finish line. That would help Van Poppel. That would move him right up into 3rd place overall if he took the stage. Flick of the head there by the Cofidis team. Just trying to put their team into position. DSM moving through with Dainese locked in on the wheels. A rider who you kind of get the sense if he wins a big race, then the floodgates will open. It's almost like he's trying just a teeny bit hard at the moment. But DSM putting their plan into place. They've always got a protocol. They've always got a plan. 4 kilometers to go now. The final stage of the Saudi Tour as they flick their way over yet another speed bump. UAE Team Emirates starting to put some riders up. Bora Hansgrohe, I'm sure they've got to go with Van Poppel today to try and put him on the podium. Big move. Now we start to see a little bit more of a shift of Cofidis, but the arrival of Ryan Mullen in the green and white as the Irish champion. Here come Bike Exchange. Bike Exchange move up on the right-hand side, 3.3 kilometers to go. The team in white and blue, they sneak through cleverly on that right-hand turn and they take to the right-hand side of the road. Left-hand side as we look. Right-hand side, Bahrain victorious. So yet again, two distinct trains are starting to form. 3 kilometers to go. It will now be a win in this race for the young rider from Lotto Soudal. Maxime Van Gils will be the winner of the Saudi Tour. Caleb Ewan has just been dropped. A puncture for Caleb Ewan. Just as we get inside the last 2.5 kilometers, Caleb Ewan has punctured. That leaves this race absolutely wide open now. Will there be a change of plan for Lotto Soudal? Well, I don't think they have another sprinter. That changes this sprint significantly now. Bahrain victorious come through. Bora Hansgrohe seem to have control as they work through. On the right-hand side, in the yellow and red, come the UNO-X team with their young sprinter, Erland Bleekra. They're going to try. DSM now know that there's a massive opportunity. The pocket rocket's gone. He's never going to get back. Caleb Ewan, such disappointment for him. Well, he's won a stage, he's got his season started, but a mechanical has taken him out of the race. 1,800 meters of racing to go. UNO-X now come to the front with Bleekra locked in on the wheels. Trying to get on terms are the Quick Step team with Ballerini. Ballerini is in on the wheel. Can he get the stage that they've been desperately searching for? It's really tricky in there now as the bike exchange riders get a little bit washed away. Fast through that roundabout with UNO-X coming out with one rider in the front, but their sprinter, I think, is a long, long way behind. Now they take the left-hander. They're going to get the 1,000 meters to go point. The sun is so bright, I can hardly see the screen right now. Quick Step, Alpha Vinyl on the front, but here comes the emergence of the Bora Hansgrohe team with their sprinter, Van Poppel, wearing number 57, locked in. Ballerini is up there, wearing number 42. There's a little bit of a leaning on each other by Florian Seneschal and Ballerini. Moving up comes Gaviria. There goes the surge of UAE, left-hand side as they bring Oliveira and Gaviria through, but it is Van Poppel who seems to be near the front very, very early, and it's a big sprint starting to happen. 300 meters to go. Van Poppel kicks for home. Gaviria's there. Groenewegen starts to kick. Dylan Groenewegen, Danny Van Poppel, Groenewegen in the center. It's going to be another victory. 2 wins in the Saudi Tour. Dylan Groenewegen wins again into AlUla. Spectacular sprint by Groenewegen. He has got this run-in nailed to perfection. Disappointment for Caleb Ewan with a mechanical, but absolute joy for the people of AlUla and the bike exchange team. Dylan Groenewegen takes 2 wins home from the Saudi Tour. Perfectly executed. The plan came together. They changed a couple of little things, but the same result happened. Well, the riders now rolling in at the end of a long week, but here is the winner of the Saudi Tour. Maxime Van Gils, the young rider from Lotto Soudal, with his first professional win yesterday and his first tour win in his career here in Saudi Arabia. The team celebrates. Alex Edmondson, he did a big turn. Lawson Craddock did earlier. Michael Hepburn also very strong. But what a week for this youngster. Maxime Van Gils gives Lotto Soudal the stage win in Saudi Arabia. Thomas de Gent congratulates him. Here's the sprint. Van Poppel opened up the gas pretty early. Groenewegen came kicking through the centre, went straight for the line, and he takes the win. Look at the distance, the margin. He had a couple of bike lengths again. Just behind him, again, was Dan McClay, riding for Arkea Samsic, and up there, I think, in second place. Van Poppel was there too, so was Ballerini. Just behind was Gaviria. Just under 3 hours of racing. Way ahead of schedule today. The fastest average speed we were looking at was a 46 km/h average. There's our race winner. Here comes Caleb Ewan. The mechanical in the last 2.5 kilometers. He didn't get the chance to sprint. Let's take a look from the helicopter shot. Luca Metgetz shouting at Dylan Groenewegen. And look at Dan McClay, he went so late again on the right-hand side. McClay gets second, Ballerini gets third, Gaviria gets fourth, Van Poppel gets fifth. Confirmation then of the result. Dylan Groenewegen takes his second win in Saudi Arabia ahead of Dan McClay in second place for Arkea Samsic. Ballerini gets into third place with Gaviria fourth, Van Poppel fifth, Bonifacio in sixth place. Jasper de Bus decided to sprint, having heard that Caleb Ewan had punctured or had a mechanical. And he is in seventh place in that sprint. Here comes our blue jersey. Martin Urianstadt will be on the podium in a little while as the winner of this classification. Confirmation then of the result of the second edition of the Saudi Tour. Maxime Van Gils of Lotto Soudal wins, 36 seconds ahead of Buitrago of Bahrain victorious. Rui Costa holds his position in third. De Klerk with fourth and Van Poppel in fifth place. The riders will make their way to the podium presentation, which is right in the heart of the Old Town where we started earlier on. In a few moments, we're going to hear from Dylan Groenewegen, today's stage winner.
Dylan, a second stage success on this Saudi Tour must be very satisfying. What a way to start the season for you.
Yeah, it's beautiful in a new team. It's got almost, yeah, it was a really good job from a team to put me in a really good position. And then on the end, I think 200 meters before the finish, Luca put me in a really good position. He makes a really good move to go to the right.
and I had some space to go very well and very free. So yeah, it was a good sprint.
Came you in punctured with 3Ks to go. That's a blow for him, of course, but it happened. How did you adapt to your new bike exchange Jayco train, and how different is it?
Yeah, it's really different with my last team, with Jumbo-Visma. But yeah, the boys did a really good job. Yeah, we learned really soon, and yeah, tried to do it so good as possible. And yeah, now we have 2 victories. I think it's 2 out of 3, so it's really nice.
What's the next goal now for you?
We go to the UAE Tour and yeah, try to get a victory again there.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Thanks.
Dylan Groenewegen then, as we just look back at that furious sprint into this historic old town. Groenewegen on the top step of the podium yet again here in Saudi Arabia. So he'll miss Oman and he'll get ready for the UAE Tour. So Oman will be just in between. A few other riders flying in for that. Around about, I think, 50 riders from here will be in Oman. In a few moments, we're going to hear from the green jersey, the winner of the Saudi Tour, Maxime Van Giels, as we just look here at the run into the finish. As you heard from Groenewegen, Luca Metgetz, look at him move there on the left, wearing number 27. He sprints onto the train of Van Poppel, gives Groenewegen the right lead out. Watch the way he does that. Looks around, makes a move to the right. Then it gives Groenewegen loads of space. And why Luca Metgetz is so good at this is that he's a fast sprinter too. We've seen him win stages in sprints. He knows exactly what Groenewegen needed. Gives him space, gives him time. The margin of victory was big. Dan McClay in second place. He'll be a little disappointed, but he must be motivated to know he's not far behind Groenewegen in 2 sprints.
Well, Maxime Van Giels, the first stage success in your very young career. What's going on in your head right now? You've just won the Saudi Tour.
Yeah, it's really special. Yesterday was my first pro win, and directly also I win the GC, so yeah, it's really nice.
I suppose it was pretty tense today, although it was rather flat. You had a good team around you, but I suppose you were a bit tense because you never know what can happen on a stage like today.
Yeah, it was not an easy day. You need to push the whole day. Thomas did a really nice job.
The goal now, after winning the Saudi Tour, I suppose you have ambitions, and big expectations for the weeks, the months to come.
Yeah, first of all, we'll take some rest at home, and then we will see to the next races. Of course, I will stay winning or racing for victories, but it's not always easy.
You're 22 years of age. What is your dream in cycling?
I think to take good results in stage races of 1 week and good results in the classics like Luik-Bastenaken, Luik or Flèche Wallonie.
We'll see you at the Flèche Wallonne. Thank you very much.
Thank
Congratulations.
You.
Maxime Van Giels, he wants to win Flèche Wallonne. Well, let's see whether he can. He's certainly got the climbing ability to perform well in Flèche Wallonne. Let's see if he can be there in the top places overall. A very quietly spoken young rider, learning his trade, but already there, producing a big win for Lotto Soudal here in Saudi Arabia. The podium presentation is getting set in the old town of AlUla. Thank you for all of you who've spent your time with us during this week. I know we had a few technical problems at the beginning of the week with the plane, but if you've stayed with us and you've hung it out, then thank you very much for taking that time and investing in this race. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you it. We've seen some stunning sprinting, some great climbing and some wonderful views. Here's the run through then of the sprint. Look how far back McClay was. If he'd had someone to position him, what could he have done? He was closing in on Groenewegen. He went past Van Poppel, he went past Ballerini, he caught Gaviria, who just couldn't get to the wheel of Dylan Groenewegen. 2 second places in 5 days. A reminder then of the result. Dianeti made up the top 10. Bleeker, the young sprinter from UNOX, there in 9th, but no doubt about the winner. Dylan Groenewegen ahead of Dan McClay and David Ballerini. We're going to see then the podium presentation with the stage winner. We'll see the general classification, the green jersey awarded, the red jersey for the points, the best young rider, the white jersey, and the team classification we'll also see as well. Such a difficult sprint to control, isn't it? Because you've got such a wide road where the riders are able to shift around. It does give some maneuverability, but it makes it a little bit tricky because you've got the ability for trains to move up on the right or the left-hand side of the road. But a very good sprint by Dylan Groenewegen. Took the shortest route, really cutting in there on the left-hand side, finding the quickest way to the line and making the likes of Ballerini and McClay go round the outside. That's why this lead-out train was so good. From the helicopter shot, that all looks so easy. When you're doing over 70 kilometers an hour, looking to try and find your way through in the sprint, that's a very difficult situation. We've had an opportunity over the last few days to get to know this desert region, aiming, of course, to open up to the world and encourage tourists to come here. Another look at the top 10 of this year's race. A few other mentions then. Genier in 8th place at 1:36. Sharmik, we have to congratulate him on his work today to try and win the stage and secure a higher position. Look at that. Tim de Klerk, Danny Van Poppel, Daniel Oss, 4th, 5th and 6th. On a day yesterday that finished at the top of a 2.8 kilometre climb with gradients of 19%. Just over 20 hours of racing to bring this race to its conclusion. In a few moments, the presentation as we get another glimpse at Elephant Rock. This is where the team presentation was held the night before the race. It's a very warm afternoon here now. That night it was very cold. The riders were freezing on that podium when they were presented. It really does change here at this time of the year in this desert. Here's the podium area as we get ready to welcome the winners of this year's race, the second edition of the Saudi Tour. There's all the awards laid out.
جوال وش؟ جوال ليه هم تصور بجوالك؟ سناب.
إذا الفائز بمرحلة اليوم الدراج الهولندي من الفريق الأسترالي الذي يحمل على أكتافه الدراج السبونسر الرسمي العلا، الدراج الهولندي من فريق بايك اكسشينج جايكو، ديلان غرونوفيغن.
The winner of today's stage, Dylan Groenewegen.
الأستاذ عمر عبد الشكور.
A great start to his career with the Bike Exchange Jayco team, having moved from Jumbo-Visma and a swift transfer at the end of last season.
الفائز بمرحلتين هنا كما قلنا العلا على أكتاف ديلان. تحية كبيرة لهذا البطل الفائز بمرحلتين، العائد من بعيد بعد موسم بدون سباقات وفريق جديد.
Confirmation then of the result as Groenewegen takes his win ahead of Maclay and Ballerini. Courtesy of that sprint, unfortunately, Caleb Ewan has lost the red jersey. Dylan Groenewegen will win the points classification.
إذا قميص وزارة الرياضة القميص الأخضر والمتصدر للترتيب العام كما قلنا يقوم بالتتويج الأستاذ عمر عبد الشكور صاحب القميص الأخضر الدراج البلجيكي من فريق لوتو.
All the other jerseys getting ready for the presentations.
الفوز الأول له في مسيرته الاحترافية وأول طواف لهذا الدراج الشاب الواعد الذي أبهر الجميع يوم أمس بفوزه بالمرحلة والترتيب العام. Maxime Van Gils.
Maxime Van Gils is the winner of the Saudi Tour. Pulls on the green jersey for the final time. He'll remember this race now as the moment that he got some international recognition. His first pro win and his first pro stage win.
تحية كبيرة للبطل الشاب ماكسيم فان جيلز المتصدر لتوا في السعودية والفائز بالنسخة الثانية منها.
As we look over this magnificent mirrored structure, confirmation then again of our top 10 overall at the end of 5 stages, with Van Gils taking this year's win.
القميص الأحمر قميص النقاط الهولندي من فريق بايك اكسشينج جايكو ديلان غرونوفيغن.
The red jersey, courtesy of 2-stage victories, Dylan Groenewegen, he wins the points classification. Bike Exchange Jayco having a very good race here.
القميص الأبيض قميص برنامج جودة الحياة تقوم بالتتويج الأستاذة نور الكثيري من برنامج جودة الحياة. تتفضل.
There's the points classification. There was 1 point in it. Groenewegen wins with 30. Caleb Ewan with 29 and Dan Maclay in 3rd place. The best young rider now about to arrive, and of course that is Maxime Van Gils. He wins the overall, he wins the best young rider.
تحية كبيرة لهذا البطل الشاب الواعد ومفاجأة كبيرة خلال طواف السعودية بفوز بقميصين الأخضر والأبيض. نمر إلى القميص التالي، القميص الاتحاد السعودي للدراجات.
A reminder then of the best young rider classification. Buitrago was second, Sharmig in third place. And there's the rest of the top 10.
المتصدر للقميص الأزرق على دراجة الشاب من فريق يونو إكس برو سايكلينج تيم مارتن باك.
Martin Uranstad of Uno X. Blue jersey for him. I think we've spent more time talking about this rider than any other rider in the peloton in the last 5 days. He's been on the attack consistently. I'm sure much more to come from that young rider. He took the win with 23 points, Torzakis with 15, and Turgis, he finished third with 11 points. Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl are the best team. They're going to arrive on the stage in just a moment. Wilfred Peters hanging around there at the back, the sports director. Team classification for the Wolfpack.
هو الفريق البلجيكي المتصدر للترتيب بإجمالي وقت 60 ساعة 22 دقيقة و44 ثانية. قادم من بلجيكا ونافس بقوة الفريق كويك ستيب ألفا فاينل تيم.
Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. The team of Andrea Baggioli, David Ballerini, Tim de Klerk, Ilio Kaiser, Florian Seneschal, Yannick Steimler and Bert van Leeuwenberg. That's the team of Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. 7 riders in that team started, 7 riders finish, and they win the team classification with some wonderful results. Baggioli going so close to winning stages, Tim de Klerk up there in the top places overall. And they've set the race alight at times as well.
تحية كبيرة لفريق كويك ستيب. نمر إلى ترتيب الألعاب.
Quick Step Alpha Final, the best team in the second edition of the Saudi Tour.
لأفضل 3 كانوا هنا متواجدون. يقوم بالتتويج الأستاذ ريم السويلم. تحصل على المركز الثالث الدراج البرتغالي وبطل العالم السابق من فريق الإمارات روي كوستا.
Third place overall from UAE Team Emirates, Rui Costa.
المركز الثاني الدراج الكولومبي من فريق بحرين فيكتوريوس سانتياغو بويتراغو.
Second place overall, Santiago Buitrago, stage winner. He just didn't like the crosswinds yesterday.
والفائز بالنسخة الثانية من طواف السعودية الدراج الشاب البلجيكي من فريق اللوتو سودان ماكسيم فان جيلز.
Maxime Van Giels making his way onto the stage. Puts his mask on before he does so. The winner of the Saudi Tour 2022. There's our podium at the end of 5 days of racing.
فوز كبير كان يوم أمس كفيل بالحفاظ ونيل لقب طواف السعودية اللقب الأول لهذا الدراج السيف صعب 22
Rui Costa, Santiago Buitrago, Maxime Van Gils, the podium of this year's race. Quick photo without the masks on. Rui Costa, always good at this time in the season, isn't he? Gets himself ready for the UAE races. The Oman races, the Saudi Tour, he always wants to be there. And there's a reminder then of our podium. Well, thank you very much for joining us for the last 5 days of racing. Here's our jerseys, the blue, the green and the red. Of course, the white jersey is held by Maxime Van Gils as well.
ماكسيم فان جيلز القميص الأخضر ديلان غرونفيغن القميص الأحمر وبالنسبة للقميص الأبيض
Martin Urianstad, Dylan Groenewegen and Maxime Van Gils are our 3 jersey winners.
صور تذكارية مع بعض الطواف لرئيس الاتحاد السعودي للدراجات نصير عبد الله الوثلان. نشكر الجميع للمشاركة في التتويج هنا تتويج الأبطال.
Just the second edition of this race. We'll look forward to coming back next season, see how the race evolves and how it changes. Cycling yet again involved in the transformation of an area. Dylan Groenewegen wins the sprint into the race finish here today to take his second stage victory with a perfectly executed team effort.
الشكر موصول كذلك لجميع القائمين وجميع العاملين وجميع المشاركين في الطواف هنا إن كان للإعداد والتجهيز وجميع الدراجين كذلك عمل جبار وتنظيم رائع من الجميع. شكرا.
You can see that way that Luca Met gets set that up perfectly. It gave Groenewegen a run onto the wheel of Van Poppel, and then once he was able to get space, no one was going to challenge him. So perhaps McClay, who closed in so quickly on the right-hand side. Time to sign some jerseys as souvenirs of the race. They'll go out to some of the sponsors. Maxime Van Gils is going to be very busy. He's never experienced this before. But for the next hour and a half, he's got a lot to do. Press conferences, signed jerseys, anti-doping, of course.
Right, Dylan Groenewegen, a very good week. I mean, you had to fine-tune your cooperation with a new team, but I suppose you must be very happy with the way this week went.
Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3, so it's really nice. It's a really good start of the season. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous before the start of the season in a new team, but yeah, everyone learned so fast and did a really good job today. We lost each other a little bit, but on the final we found each other. And yeah, Luca and me come together in the roundabout, and then we stay really easy. He followed Bora and Skroe, and then yeah, on the 300 meters before the finish, he make a really good move to go to the right, and I can come with some speed without Danny, and yeah, then I had a victory for the team again, and yeah, that's really nice.
And the bonus is you have that red jersey on your shoulders. You win the points classification for 1 point over Caleb Ewan. A very nice bonus.
Yeah, yesterday was a little bit too hard for the green jersey, but no, the red jersey is really nice. And yeah, I think Caleb had a flat tire, so yeah, that's really shit. It's nicer to sprint to Caleb Ewan for the win, but yeah, that happened in a race. But it's nice to have the jersey, and also for the AlUla sponsor, it's really nice.
If you had to choose one objective for this season, I know there are many races to come and it's still early, what would be that main objective, that victory that you would like to have?
For sure, it will be nice if we can win yeah, in the Tour de France. I love that race and it's really nice. But yeah, also it's really nice if you can win in every stage race. So we tried it and now we have 2 victories. And if we look further, in 10 days we have to do a V-Tour. So we try to get a victory again there. And yeah, with this sprint train, it gives a lot of confidence for there.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dylan.
Dylan Groenewegen in the red jersey. He wins by 1 point from Caleb Ewan, with Dan McClay in 3rd place, just 6 points behind.
Well, Martin, you knew that it was going to be a battle all the way to the final stage. That's exactly what happened. First of all, what went on in your mind when you saw that Zorzakis again attacked this morning?
Yeah, he's been really strong in riding aggressive, so when he went, I knew I had to go after him. And I was tired, so the team had to help me, and they were riding really nice to get me in the break. Both Jonas Abrahamsen and Anton was pulling me up to the break, and I'm really thankful for them.
I mean, you're 2 years of age, if I'm correct. Winning that blue jersey must mean a lot for you as a young rider.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's been fun days and a really nice experience.
What's the next objective now for you?
The next race for me will be Tour of Oman, and I think I have good chances there as well, with Anton in great shape, so it will be fun for sure.
See you in Oman. Thank you. Thanks, Martin.
Martin Urianstad, one of the stars of this year's race. Well, as we say goodbye on Saudi Arabia, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the race. We'll join you next year and see how the race evolves. Bye for now.
Norwegian. Well, a word on your week. It's been a fantastic week for you with blue jersey as a very nice present before your birthday tomorrow, actually.
Ja, det har vært en kjempefin uke, og vi hadde det gøy, og kjørt aktivt og prøvd å lage gøy sykkelritt, og det er gøy.
Thank you very much. Right.